I'm Peter Marsh, and this is Aether and ATX. One day I'm going to explain what that means, but for right now we're going to be talking about energy, your thoughts, and how they influence your reality. So this is my second video. You should go back and check my first video out if you haven't already. Make sure you like and subscribe while you're doing that as well. The Anchor Pete channel, which is what this channel used to be, was where I would review movies and TV shows and books. But now we're going to be talking about manifesting and your subconscious mind and how it affects reality. I started researching manifesting and the subconscious mind and things like that in January of 2025. And over those months, I've seen it all, right? I've seen a lot of people who I feel like they're just trying to make money. They want you to sign up for their course. They want you to give their videos views. And then I've seen some people where I believe in their work and there's some validity to it. I'm going to list them again right here, like I did in my previous video, because I think you should go check them out. But it's basically Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Daniel De Sautel, Joey Lott, Bashar, and Joshua South. So they know what they're talking about. Me, I'm just sharing with you the stuff that I've learned from them and I've used in my life, and I feel like it's made my life better. And hopefully you can take something from this and use it in your life as well. In my previous video, I didn't go into depth about energy that much, but energy is so important. All of those people I listed, or for the most part, they talk about how we're just beings of energy, right? Everything around us in this 3D tangible world is made up of energy. Now, when I think of energy, I think of the muscles in our body, right? Our muscles are where we store energy. If I want to lift something really heavy, then I'm going to focus on my arm muscles and I'm going to put energy into my arm muscles so I can lift that heavy thing. If I want to go for a long walk through a forest, then I'm going to focus on my leg muscles. I'm going to put a lot of energy into them, strengthen my leg muscles so I can handle a walk like that, a hike like that. I think the same thing goes for our thoughts. I think that if we want to have a certain belief, then we have to focus on specific thoughts. Now, here's something else that people that talk about manifesting and the subconscious mind talk about often. They talk about how our thoughts are automatic, they're just flowing through our head, and we choose which thoughts we're going to focus on. Now, it might seem like, well, why would we choose to focus on negative thoughts? But it's because they are so powerful, right? And they're so alarming, and they go along with the feeling that we might have physically, and so they stand out. And when we think about those negative thoughts, when we focus on them, we're putting energy into them. And like I said in my previous video, our thoughts create our beliefs, and our beliefs are what make our 3D tangible world. So let's talk about thoughts themselves and how they shape our reality. For me, I am 42, and I have a lifetime of experience of having negative thoughts about myself and kind of living in a pretty cynical mindset. I've tried to change it by looking into this manifestation stuff, by making changes in my 3D tangible world, and it takes conscious effort. In my previous video, I talked about how if you want to change your reality, you have to think about the two parts of your being, right? Your 3D tangible world, self that interacts with everyone else, and then your inner self, which you could call your imagination, right? And a lot of people, I'd say most of the people I interact with, they just put a focus on that 3D tangible world, and they just think of the imagination as like a thing that we have, right? And when I was learning about this, I started to think of the inner self, the imagination, as a separate place that you could travel to. But the more that I've written about this and the more that I've talked about this and the more stuff I've watched or read, I realized that your inner self, your imagination, and the 3D tangible world are two things that you're in simultaneously. They're just on top of each other, right? And what happens in your imagination influences your 3D tangible world and vice versa. So in my previous video, I talked about how when you have an experience in the 3D tangible world, your thoughts are like the data points that are being collected. Okay, this happened to me. And this was the result. Check. And beyond that, it's also your brain's way of taking that data and trying to rationalize something. Okay, every time I've gone to this restaurant, I've had a bad experience. So that means it's a bad restaurant, right? Every time I've tried to play this sport, I haven't done well. So that means I'm not good at this sport. Every time I have talked to like this specific type of person, they get along with me. So I must have some kind of skill when it comes to talking to this type of person, right? You just start to draw these conclusions, and they make your beliefs, and then your beliefs make your 3D tangible world. So how do we change our 3D tangible world if we're stuck in this mindset, this like negative mindset? Like I said in that previous video, you have to change your imagination. You have to change who you are in your imagination, in your inner self. And then your 3D tangible self will change to reflect it. They're mirrors of each other. But besides that, you have to take action in the 3D tangible world. Let's talk about actions that I've taken in the past few months. I have started to go for walks. I used to walk all the time, and then I just basically stopped for like a year, and I was inactive, right? And I would have the most negative thoughts when I was just like laying on my couch, looking at social media, reading a comic book, watching something on TV, right? That's when I would just start to cycle and have all these negative thoughts. Well, there was one night where those negative thoughts were really strong, and I was like, I just need to take a nap. I'm not feeling this. I was in a bad place. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something different. I'm going to go for a walk. I went for a walk. I just listened to music. I didn't listen to any YouTube channels or podcasts or anything like that. I just listened to some of my favorite songs. And it was like a revelation, man. Like, it just like blew my mind, and I just felt so much better. Since then, I've just been taking walks whenever I have downtime. I've either been doing that or I've been writing, which is something that I've been neglecting for years and years and years of my life. And what I've found is that I start to wake up earlier than my alarm. I usually set my alarm so that I can get ready for work, and it gives myself like about an hour to get ready. And I'm finding myself waking up like 2 hours to an hour and a half before my alarm goes off for work. In that time, I'm sitting there doing affirmations that are based on the stuff that I've learned from the people I listed above or before. And I'm doing those affirmations. I might be meditating. I'm writing, and I'm going for a walk if I have a chance to. My day is really positive for the most part for the first few hours. And then what happens is it starts to get a little bit more negative. I start to go back to that old way of thinking about myself in my imagination. In my imagination during the day, when I have that energy, when I'm like doing those tasks, I'm like, yeah, you're awesome. Like, yeah, look what you did. There's something special about you. Then nighttime comes around and those negative thoughts start to seep in. Like, oh, you're never going to have this. You're never going to do this, right? I think that there's like a correlation between our thoughts and our physical energy as well. So I've read multiple times that the majority of people think of the relationship between our thoughts as something like this, where you have a thought and then it might physically affect you, right? You might start to like cry or like lose your energy if you see something sad, right? You will tense up if you are talking about a subject that really bothers you. I think that's true for the most part, but I also think that the inverse could be true, to where the way that you're physically feeling, you generate these thoughts, and the thoughts are like the way to justify how you physically feel. So when I wake up in the morning early before my alarm and I do all these things, these practical things that are helping my life, I have that energy because I got a couple of hours of sleep the night before. I'm feeling really good about myself. But then as we go through the day, my physical energy is depleted, and that's when those negative thoughts start to come in. So I think that there's a correlation between the two, and that you have to be taking action in the physical world, the 3D tangible world, but you also have to be taking action in your inner self. That's going to bring us to our last point. In my previous video, I talked about how when people are discussing manifestation, they always say that you have to imagine what you want, your ideal self, what you want out of life. You have to imagine that you have it right now in your imagination. You have to like really believe it. That's a really difficult thing to do because you look around, you use your eyes, use your senses, and you're like, I don't see evidence of having this thing right now. But reality starts to shift to match the way you feel about yourself. And you have to feel good about yourself. Now, you can't just sit there and imagine a better version of yourself and it's going to change. That's going to help a lot. But that's only one out of two things you have to do. You also have to take action in your life to change it. But I think people in general believe that you only have to change something in the physical world to change your life in general. I think it's symbiosis of both. You have to change how you feel about yourself, and you have to change the things that you're doing in your life. So last but not least, we make a choice on which thoughts we're going to focus on. In the morning, when I have all that physical energy, I'm choosing to believe positive things about myself. And those thoughts are always coming. Thoughts are always streaming through your head, right? The people that are talking about manifestation, they always talk about how your thoughts are just automatic. They're just flowing by, and you have to choose which one you're going to focus on. You choose negative thoughts, you can choose positive thoughts. In the morning, when I have more energy, it's a lot easier to pick those positive thoughts. At night, when my energy is depleted, it's kind of easier to pick those negative thoughts. But the key thing, and here's the period on the sentence, the key thing is you have to take that action. Just like I said in the previous video. Take the action in your mind, in your inner self, and take the action in the physical world. Choosing a specific thought is taking an action. It's not a passive thing. I'm choosing to believe this. I'm choosing to have this thought. Those thoughts are streaming by, right? And you got your fishing rod. That's the fish I'm trying to get, right? I'm aiming for this thing right here. I'm going to focus on that. And when you make that active choice, and you keep making that active choice, then you start to change your belief. And when you change your belief, you change your 3D tangible world. I hope that was helpful, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say about it. I'll see you guys in the next video.